Grab a cup of joe, buckle up, and let's embark on a journey of self-discovery, creativity, and entrepreneurship. Let's get rolling.
Happy whatever day it is that you're listening. Thank you, and welcome back to the Rhythm of the Road podcast. It is Mixed Media Week. And
That's right.
by mixed media, we thought we used to know what this meant, but we don't anymore. And really what mixed media here means on the Rhythm of the Road podcast is whatever Nell and I show up and talk about when we arrive on this recording, and that's relevant. And sometimes it takes us a little bit longer, and sometimes we just have to wing it. For your benefit today, we're not winging it. We did come up with a topic. So don't worry. We're not going to just string you along for some ambiguous conversation that you just got to sit in and watch and or listen. So if you're in your car driving on your way to work, please do yourself a favor. Give yourself a face palm for us so that you make sure that you at least have something to laugh about today on your drive. Other than that, welcome back, Nell, to the Rhythm of the Road podcast.
Thanks, Jeremy. I'm excited to be here. This is definitely going to be mixed up for sure. What is mixed media anymore? What do we even know? Do we know anything? I'm excited to talk about today's topic.
Yeah, and also I'll mention this is our first mixed media episode in season 3, and so super excited. And thank you for continuing to show up and do these with me, because they're just a lot of fun to do something a bit different and out of the norm, so to speak.
Yeah.
And we have no idea where this is going to go, but this idea of what outside influences can have on us, and then how does that influence us from the inside out?
Mm-hmm. This is a huge topic. It can be very broad and vague, but I think when we say outside influences, I think we all know what that means right now, whether we're talking about social media, your phone, any type of distraction, government overlords, and all the things that are just infiltrating into our creative bubbles. I mean, surely that's affecting us one way or another.
Yeah, and if you just heard that statement, do me a favor and put in the comments below or send me a message. What was the first thing that came to your brain when we said an outside influence that's influencing you from the inside out? Mm-hmm. What was that first thing? I would imagine some of you are going to say some of the same things that Nell already said. But there might be more that we're not thinking about. So please share them, because it's important to name what those things are, because then we get to do something about them.
Yeah. I mean, outside influences don't necessarily just mean, what's happening in society right now. It could be a mother, it could be a father, it could be a sister, brother, wife, husband, anybody close to you that, maybe you were hoping for some support when you started a new venture that you thought you would get from really close friends and family. And they're the ones criticizing you or telling you should do something one way and you want to go another direction. That's an outside influence too.
Yeah, I'm curious. And as I hear you say and give those two examples, I wonder how many people watching and listening, when we said outside influence, automatically went to something that potentially negatively influenced them rather than positively.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and I'm guilty of it too. I just did that. I go to the negative when we're talking about outside influences. And I think that's just kind of the mentality of society right now is there's so much negativity that it's infiltrating, even though we might try to create this bubble that we live inside of every day that separates us from the outside world or influences. It still manages to get in there somehow, especially if you're looking at your phone all day and the first thing you see pop up is a message on X. Personally, I don't go on X. I have an account. I've had an account since it was Twitter back in 2009 or whatever year. And I get pop-ups on my home screen with messages from accounts that I don't follow. And that it's right there when I pick up my phone. So I can only imagine what other types of influences are coming through, that if you see enough of those day in and day out, that just affects you. And I haven't really gotten to a place yet where I've figured out how to not let that affect me all the time. It's a buildup, you know?
Yeah, and as I hear you say that last part of like, how do I not let it affect me? I'm not really sure we have a physical, biological, or emotional shield big enough, thick enough, or strong enough to like protect us. But
Yeah.
I wonder is what do we do with that information? How do we
Yeah.
not let it um how let how do we not allow it to change what we do, but it could
Right.
inform us, right?
Exactly.
Positively and negatively. I like that folks were thinking about outside influences that were positive and were negative, because I feel like you have an opportunity in both,
Yeah.
and like when I internalize some of those negative messages, like say for instance in the political space, for me this it's just noise, like listening to like white noise on a channel on your TV that didn't work. Not that that's a thing anymore, but I remember old tube TVs that didn't work on certain channels and you actually heard static. Um, and radio too, right? Radio dials, like you had to move between stations. It wasn't just like a digital dial.
Yep.
And so that's the noise I hear in my brain. And so
Mm.
because it's just noise, I can hit the pause button or I can turn down the volume, so to speak, so I don't have to listen to those things. But,
Yeah.
there are also influences in the world right now that are affecting, many of our friends and
Mhm.
who are also business owners. We're talking about tariffs and, you know, what kind of an impact that's having on their businesses, but then also us as consumers.
Yeah. Yeah. Ultimately, consumers drive,
Mm,
how we as business owners react to the things going on in the world. I mean, that's just kind of the way that it goes. And we're all consumers in one sense.
mhm,
I have to go to the grocery store and buy laundry detergent too. It's we all have to do it, and even as business owners. And it's I heard a story recently of somebody very close to me works with as a buyer for a grocery store, a local grocery store in our area. There's
mm,
a few locations, and he's the buyer. His wife went and he likes to support local businesses, and he likes to buy local products at the grocery store he works for. And his wife went recently and bought like a generic product of something that he normally buys that's locally made. And he was like, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Well, it's cheaper. I thought, this is one way that we could start saving money," because she's hearing a lot of things about how things are getting more costly and the economy's getting worse and all
mhm,
these things. And he's like, "No, this is one area where we can afford not to skimp." And, there's fear built
mhm,
up into all of this. And I think that's really honestly what drives everything in the negative space is fear. And that's really what's happening is the infiltrations and the outside influences is just building up this fear, because when you put people in a state of fear, they have to make choices and they're very vulnerable, and we can easily sell things to people when they're in a vulnerable state. And I
right.
mean,
True
it's
thoughts
just
there.
it's a crazy it's a crazy world we live in.
Hmm. Yeah, to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and this can go so many different ways. And you brought up social media. There's one positive way, if we can shift our perspective a little bit
Hmm.
about how we view social media. I talked about how I get messages that pop up from accounts that I don't even follow. But if we look at it from, okay, social media is allowing me to make connections with people I would not have been able to connect with otherwise,
Hmm.
that have turned into lifelong friendships, awesome collaborations, opportunities. If we can look at social media from that standpoint and sort of do, like you said, hear that static on the rest of the noise
Hmm.
and just get to that space, and I think we could even be that much better as a whole, as society.
Yeah, and it's all really noise, and it's us filtering it out through how we want to be influenced.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it gives us an opportunity to make those choices. And
Mhm.
it takes time, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm going to hashtag later in life and say that as we are later in life, we can make those decisions easier because we know what we don't need to hear
Yeah.
or what isn't necessary.
For sure. Don't tell my parents this, but they were right when they said as you get older, time flies by faster, but you also get wiser, and it's easier to say no. It's easier to understand what you need and what you don't need. And yeah, that comes with time and experience for sure.
Yeah. As you said that, there's my wife's grandpa said something very wise. When you talk about you get older, and how we think about time is like when you're a baby, a day, and you're 5 days old, one day is like 20% of your life,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so when you think about that versus one day when you're our age, fill in the blank, whatever that is, one day is such a small percentage. And the farther we get away from day zero, so to speak, our birth, then that perception of what a time of a day is, even though it's still 24 hours,
Mhm.
really shrinks, like
Yeah.
in the picture of your whole entire being here.
Yeah.
And so like I get that. I
Yeah.
have kids who are adults and getting married and moving all over the country, and I would have not thought that 20 something years ago when they were just arriving here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. I don't have kids, but I have friends that
Hmm.
have kids, and my sister, and it's wild kind of being on the outside of watching that dynamic, because I remember so clearly when these children were born.
Hmm.
And I fast forward to today, it's like my nephew is 10 years old. He's almost as tall as I am,
Hmm.
and I can have an actual conversation with him. That to me was one of the craziest things when I was watching these kids grow up, is the evolution of conversation. And you go from, oh, good boy, Johnny, like, like
Hmm.
childish speak and baby talk for, I mean, if that's what they call it. And to now, having, my nephew asking me a question about YouTube, like,
Hmm.
hey, Aunt Nell, how many subscribers do you have? When do you get the plaque and all the things? And I can answer him. Like, it's so simple,
Hmm.
but watching that evolution is really interesting. And being 40 now, I have a different concept of time than these kids do. And they're just wishing for the day to go. They just want the
Right.
day to go. And I remember that. But now I want to say to them, don't wish the days away,
Hmm.
because you get to, I'm not old, but you get to 40 and you start to have this different perception of time and how much more valuable it is. And you understand where you want to spend it, where you don't want to spend it. And that helps with noise, I think.
Hmm. Yeah. And it just, it makes it easier.
Yeah.
Not easy all the time,
No.
but it makes it easier.
Yeah.
Because I think what's important is we're still learning and growing. It's not
Mhm.
like we've made this arrival moment and we're like, yeah, we have this figured out, and I don't really need to figure anything else out. But as we keep going, we keep learning, which means we have to learn how to filter out new and different noise.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not righteous here. Like, don't anybody
Far
mistake
from.
our time and experience and wisdom for we know everything, because I truly, truly don't ever think we'll ever, as humans, get to a point where we feel like, yep, we've done it all, we know it all, and this is how the world works. I don't think any of us will ever get to that point, and that's okay,
Yeah.
because
I'd
we don't
rather
need to
have it
know.
be that I did everything I wanted to do
Exactly.
I don't have regrets, and I tried all the things,
Yeah.
and I learned a lot along the way.
Yeah, and I traveled and I learned. I did this. I went for a dream. I want to be able to say those things and not, yeah, I learned everything there is to know. That sounds boring.
Yeah, what do you do with that?
But, we've gotten off on a little bit of a tangent here. The outside influences. I mean, see, and this, travel for me has always been a huge outside influence. And I think it's one of the most positive ones
hmm
there is.
I can say that it is the biggest one, and it's honestly, it's the outside influence I'm working on having more being an influence
Yeah.
by just
Yeah.
traveling more. And don't hear me say like I don't want to do anything else because all I want to do is travel. But what I can tell you is when I do, I'm better because I have different
Yeah.
experiences and I learned from other folks, and I now get the opportunity to travel with the people that I want to travel with,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it even better. It influences me in a way that I don't have to, like, I used to have a guilt about it. Like, I'm traveling all the time, and like, right, it's that other side, right? It's like, well,
It's
does
not what
that
you
mean
should be
you're not
doing.
home, and what should you be doing? And I'm like, yes, and it's also great. And now when you get to a point where you can do that with the people, like, Tracy and I can travel together rather than one of us individually, or we can travel with really good friends and colleagues and just enjoy life. But as a byproduct of that, it's making the other things that I'm doing that much better.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's enrichment,
Yes.
honestly. It really is. And it's interesting when travel honestly kind of brought some things to light for me and for my husband and I, because when we made this shift to me quitting the job and going full time with the business, we obviously cut out an entire salary. And to be able to make it work, we had to adjust the way that we lived our lives a little bit. And a huge part of that was travel. We used to go on these awesome all-inclusive vacations, and we went on a cruise. We went to Hawaii. We did some really awesome things with some really awesome people and friends. And I remember we went on a trip to the Dominican Republic back in 2017, I'll say, with 13 people. It was probably, and we still talk about how amazing this trip was. It was 13 people. Not everyone even knew everybody.
Even better.
Everyone got along. Everyone wanted to do everything together. It was like this anomaly of travel. Like, how on earth were we able to cultivate that? And we have not been able to replicate that trip since. And that's okay. We don't want to, because we have those memories. But our style of travel had to change, and our friends did not have to change their style of travel. And we started to feel this weird awkwardness when people would say, hey, we're going to go on this cruise, or we're going to do this all-inclusive resort. Do you guys want to come? And we're like, nope, sorry, we can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think with a couple of folks that really solidified the fact that we are no longer their travel buddies. We also have friends that we've decided maybe we're not really cruisers. We have friends that are, and that's all they want to do. And that's great. And so we've also figured that out too along the way. But those are outside influences. When somebody's like, hey, when are you going to be able to travel like this again? And it's okay to say, you know what? I don't know if I really want to.
Right.
Maybe I want to go to Costa Rica and go stay at, a B&B and go out and eat the food and not be on a resort. And sometimes people think we're crazy. And other times people are like, hey, I don't think you're actually traveling anymore because you go to Florida all the time. Well, guess what? That's travel.
I was going to say, like, I wonder, because you talk about those kind of bigger trips, right? And I would imagine, because I didn't know you back then,
Hmm.
that was maybe like a once a year or like once every 18 months.
Yeah, we had probably two of those a year. I
Right.
mean, there was a time between 2015 and 2019, or no, actually 2020. We were going on trips all the time. We were constantly going to the Dominican, to Jamaica, to Mexico, Costa Rica, and we went probably twice a year on bigger trips like that. But we also took smaller trips. We went to out to Las Vegas again. We went out to California. We went to Florida. We went to, oh
Hmm.
my gosh, we just did a lot of traveling, and because we could afford to do it at the time, and it was also a much different time. Some of those types of travels are not as affordable these days.
Right.
But yeah, it's travel's a huge influence, and I'm a big believer in trying to make it a part of your life, no matter whether that means you can take a road trip 2 hours away,
Which is
or if
travel.
right, or if you're taking a cruise. I mean, it's still travel. It's still enriching, and I, yeah, I'm just a big believer in it.
Yeah. And for context, how many trips have you already taken in this year, which is 2025, to tell folks? And we're not even all the way through it yet.
That's a good question. There was a time, so we probably took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I don't know, somewhere in the realm of 10. I would say, just off the top of my head.
And the year's not over yet, folks, just so you know.
No, and there's still plenty of travel coming up.
So I
And
would say
so,
the pendulum has swung back for you now.
yeah, it has. It hasn't swung back the way that maybe some of our friends and family want it to swing back, but I can take a 2-day trip to Florida for an event and get so much out of that to help with the creativity. And I used to tell people all the time, I would do trade shows in Las Vegas all the time. It felt like my second home.
Hmm.
I would just need to go there, eat at restaurants, talk to people, go do things outside of the trade show, just be there. And I would be so inspired
Hmm.
to come home and create. It was just, it's so, yeah, I keep using the word enriching, but that's what it really truly is. And that is one of the most positive influences, when you can be inspired by those outside influences, when you get out of your norm, out of your routine.
Hmm.
It's so inspiring.
And if you want to know a little bit more about Nell and her husband's travels, make sure you check out their YouTube channel, which is amazing. And they share experiences about how travel might look different to many folks, because they go on all sorts of fun adventures. So I would imagine our video folks are going to put the link down below in the show notes.
I'll make
in the
sure we get that
description.
message across to them. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Please go check them out. It's wonderful. It's laughable. It's fun. And
Mhm.
what is amazing about that, and what is important in the creative space, is just being authentic and being
Yeah.
real. There's nothing fake about it. I mean, other than if they have to stage a shot, but welcome to video.
Yeah.
Don't worry, that's not what's happening here. But it's so important, and it's so fun, because you can see, that light brighten each time you take a trip, and it's awesome to see. And that's, I feel the same way. Or when I have friends who are traveling, and
Mhm.
and whether you're traveling for work or whether you're traveling for pleasure, like I like to say, that's a trip versus a vacation, just to helps
Yeah.
my brain
Yeah.
orient on what space my headspace needs to be in. But I
Mhm.
still come back feeling, enriched, inspired,
Mhm.
ready for whatever's next. Or I've created capacity and space to allow what's next, which is a very small shift in what those words mean. But I think sometimes creating that capacity for what is coming, rather than saying, well, now I know, because I've had both of those versions happen,
Yeah.
and I like them equally for different reasons.
Yeah.
And when you can step into that and actually intentionally go into it knowing that, I think that's where the inside starts to come outward.
Yeah, I agree. I really agree. And I just thought of a question
Mm,
for you because I'm thinking about the concept of creating your own influence.
mm.
And when you're talking about, getting into different spaces and seeing people travel and your own traveling and things like that, how often have you gone to a place and you've discovered that what you've heard about it isn't true?
Ooh, that is a really good one.
I mean,
I guess it depends on in what space.
mm-hmm,
Are we talking about the people? Are we talking about the places? Are we talking about the experience?
mm-hmm,
If we're talking about it all, likely yes.
mm-hmm,
I can't name something specific.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm going to put the asterisk on that answer of when folks share their experience of a space that I might be going to, I take that as I really appreciate you sharing your experience with me, and I will take that into mind,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to have my own experience first.
Good. I wish more people did that, honestly, because those are outside influences.
Mhm.
Say you listen to someone about a place that you were going to, and they were like, I don't know, Jeremy, I wouldn't advise going there. It's really dangerous. You're not going to have a good time. It's going to suck. The weather's going to be terrible and all these things. Imagine if you let that influence your decision to go
Mm-hmm.
and you have a completely different experience. I would hate to think that you would miss out on something that could be really, really awesome
Mm-hmm.
because you listened to that outside influence. And keep in mind, and this goes for reviews, testimonials, all the
Mm-hmm.
things too. People are in spaces when they are giving these thoughts and opinions. They might not be in the best space in their life. They might have had a really terrible experience, but it happens both ways too. Maybe they're in this like, oh, I don't really care about anything right now. Everything is great space in their life. You have to seek out and take responsibility for your own experiences
Mm-hmm.
and letting those outside influences curate those experiences for you. Um, to me, that's not just that smart.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring it even closer to home. And that's how I think and experience folks who I meet for the first time,
Mm.
regardless of what information may have been shared with me about an individual and who they may or may not be.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always say, I appreciate that, but I will reserve the right to have my own experience first.
Yeah.
Because I can share that when I've done that, it's actually been quite game changing.
Mm-hmm.
Because often, so far, has been my experience that if they're not spot on, they're completely off.
That's a good point.
Right. And
Yeah.
more often than not, it's pretty close. But the later in life that I get,
I think you should change the name of this podcast to Later in Life Podcast.
Maybe just this series. I don't know. But as I do that, I'm in proximity and around more folks that are going to be more aligned with who I am.
Yeah.
And so likely if I'm going to meet someone that individual has already, been with or knows or experienced, there's probably going to be an easier alignment. But I've also had some experiences in the last couple of years where people are like, that person's terrible. They're a ridiculous person. This is never going to work. Blah, like the whole laundry list hasn't been my experience at all.
Yeah, that's very true. I've had similar experiences. I will say there are certain times where I feel very passionate about making sure that someone I care about knows an experience that I had.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not to say that, all opinions are not worthy. I'll say that my circle is getting smaller.
Interesting.
As far as whose opinions I value. And who I'm willing to give my opinion to. And, if you said to me, you know what, I heard you're thinking about going to this place. I don't, if you're open to hearing my experience with it, I will tell you, to maybe just give you some thoughts
Mhm.
to put in your head before you make this decision. I'm open to that. Now, if Gina, or not Gina, let's not use Gina because I love Gina. Let's use a different name. Let's use Gertrude. How about that?
We are changing the names in this podcast so as to not hurt those that we might be naming.
Gertrude. I don't know a Gertrude, okay? But if Gertrude off the street tells me, you know what, honey, I saw that overheard your conversation and you were going to go here. Let me tell you, I had a terrible, no, sorry, not probably listening. And I'm going to stop you because I don't want you to waste your energy. So it's becoming more definitive as far as who I'm willing to take advice and opinions from and give advice and opinions to, because there's a value exchange there and it's time. It's all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as that circle becomes smaller, the noise also becomes quieter because you don't have to filter out as much noise because you've created those relationships and established those conduits of conversation that allow that trust back and forth. If that's the case, right? If I'm traveling somewhere that I know that you guys have been, like, I'm going to ask. I also know that you're saying this was our experience. And you might also say, and that was 10 years ago. So likely it's different no matter what. Right. Yeah. You know, and so, and even, you know, I share with people who travel here, you know, you guys traveled to Minnesota, and I was like, we love it. And for all of these reasons, but really we want you to come here and experience it for you.
Right.
You know? And so I think it, you know, it has to go both ways. You have to be open. I'm like, you could have come here and said, yeah, we don't have to come back here. I mean, we like you, Jeremy.
I mean, listen, I'll be very honest. If you didn't live in Minnesota, I don't know. I'm not
you wouldn't come back.
I'm not saying I wouldn't go back. It's beautiful in the summer. It's like the lake life. Thank you for introducing that to us. Because I mean, we have lakes for sure, but nobody values lake life here as much as they do where you live.
It's
because
crazy.
everyone here values the shore and the beach.
Yeah.
I would go back to a lake for sure. It's beautiful. I don't know if I need to go to Minneapolis, but you know, you're a big reason in part of why we would travel
you have
there.
To get here. So,
don't make me appreciate it in the winter, please.
You know, please put in the comments below if you think Nell should come visit when it's 35 below, because I want to hear what that has to say.
You know what? I almost, like, part of me almost wants to experience that just once.
Is this where I say I triple dog dare you?
Can they even fly planes in that weather?
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Beautiful is a strong word. It really is. Just make sure you're using it with.
And I do have to ask you a question, because you might have had some outside influence on this. We have corn stalks growing in our backyard.
You do?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. It's like this tall now. And
hold on. I have a theory about this. I think the corn seeds just flow in the wind in Minnesota, and they just land in people's yards, and you can just randomly grow corn on like the curb. I think that's probably what happens.
I'm going to take a picture of it today when the sun is shining, and I'm going to send it to y'all just so you can see it.
I need to see this corn.
Ridiculous.
It's funny. And by the way, anybody listening, if you have not had corn from the Midwest in the United States, you are missing out. We in Pennsylvania thought we had good corn. I can't even eat it here anymore. Like, it's that good in the Midwest.
And that's what we call outside influence. You're welcome.
Yes, exactly. You might have a different experience. Go find out for yourself.
Oh, I love it. Well, now, if there was one thing that you could leave folks with today as they're thinking about how they're influenced from the outside and what that they could do with that said potential information, what would that be?
One thing I I would encourage, and this is an outside influence, I would encourage people to create their own influences, seek out their own information, take the trip, make the shift, pivot, do everything you have to do to find out for yourself. And as a person that is influenced, we're all influenced in one way or another. As a person being influenced, I think the one thing I would take away from this is for me personally, I need to do more filtering and shift perspective when I get the random messages that pop up on X. I mean, seriously, there's an account called Il Donaldo Trumpo that I don't even know who it is or what it stands for. I don't know.
I get these. My do not disturb is blocking out whatever you just said right now, so it doesn't show up on mine.
It's so freaking weird. When I get those, just ignore. I need to ignore, and I need to maybe unfollow some things or maybe take an app off my phone. But I need to set more boundaries in how I'm influenced and open the doors maybe to some more positive influences. But how about you? What are you taking away from this?
I'm taking away that I need to continue to retool my filters. And I think I'm going to take myself one step further and say, reach out to people I trust.
Yeah.
To find out where they might see me being influenced that I might need to watch out for.
Yeah.
Which is a whole new level of trust and in inner circle folks. And, but that's where I'm at today. Just like, how do I take that a step further? Because that's how I can grow.
Yeah.
And create that influence from my inside so that hopefully that influence creates an impact on the outside.
Love that. That's the perfect wrap up to this mixed up media.
I hope you all enjoyed our vocal adventures for today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Nell and I legitimately, we come on here and we just have fun, and we talk about things that are real. And if you know who we are outside of listening and watching on this podcast, likely you know many of the things we talk about and many of the parallels. And if you don't, you should probably reach out and get to know us, because we would love to connect with more folks and see what kind of impact and influence we can help you have in what you're doing. Because Nell and I have our spaces we live in, and we love to help folks take their influence and make an impact. Yeah. And with that, thank you, Nell.
Thank you.
And I will see you all down the road.
Thanks for cruising with me on this episode of Rhythm of the Road. Remember, the journey itself is the destination. Until next time, keep the rhythm flowing, and we'll see you down the road.